Mr. Jens Richter.
Just put it here.
Right there?
Yeah, put the laptop on there.
You got it. You're all set.
Yeah, hi everybody. Well, first thing I had to let go when Master Reed asked me if I was going to speak, that was the fact that you always have the feeling that when you stand up or you have to teach something, really, that people hadn't known before. Like you to teach a technical seminar, but in a room full of super professional martial arts millionaires, I thought, what am I going to teach? Nothing I can teach you guys that you hadn't heard before, or that you didn't know, or that you don't know, or that your peers, hadn't taught you. So, like Jeff asked me 2 days ago, well, what's your topic? So actually, I don't have a topic. So the thing is just, the topic is basically, now this is how we do it. Short story, why I do things the way I did is, I opened a school in 1986 when I was 21 years old, and I was always financially doing very, very good. It was a very competitive school. We were based on fighting and competition. And because I was very successful in my competitions, and in '88 I won the World Championships, and I became Sport Person of the Year in my city. I was always in the newspaper. The school ran by itself, actually. So I was always doing good. In my early 40s, I did a multi-million real estate deal, bit off more than I could chew, and went 900 grand down the hole. So then for the next 2 years, it was just working, paying the bank, working, paying the bank, working, paying the bank. So in January 2009, I started the economical side of my life. I started completely from scratch with a net worth of minus 20 grand, basically, but I was able to keep the college of my kids, that we're going to keep the house. And then it took about 10 years to get back from minus 20 to, let's say, a mid-range 7-figure, and now we're doing good again. So, but if this happens to you after you did great, and you did great at a young age, then the worst part was not losing money. The worst part was experiencing that I'm not bulletproof. Because that's what I thought I was. I was young, I was always successful, I was making more money than everybody else in my age. And then you kind of, you get a little over your head. And then the worst part, as I said, was the fact that when I heard that people went broke or when something bad happened, I always said that, yeah, that can happen. Sure, it can happen. Well, to you, it can happen, not to me, because I'm bulletproof. And then to find out, well, I'm not, I just bleed like everyone else. And then all of a sudden I had bad times, you go from driving Mercedes, of course, you go at the beginning of 40s when everybody else starts driving nice cars, you drive a shitty old car, you don't eat in restaurants anymore. And, it wasn't so much fun. But then what the approach of that resulted in that is that security became a totally different thing for me. Right? So I knew I could have gotten to where we are now faster had I taken more risks. But also what that did, it installed fear, right? But it also installed attention. And because at that age, if you busted up once, then that means no more mistakes. So who's doing jiu-jitsu? Anybody doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu? Helio Gracie's rule number 1. You remember that? Helio Gracie's rule number 1? Don't tap. Helio Gracie's rule number 1 is don't tap. Don't give up. So in the moment that my experience are always martial arts related. So that felt like, life mounted me, got my arm, it was already tight, but then he said, no, I'm not going to tap. I'm going to roll out, I'm going to do something, I'm not going to tap. Helio Gracie's rule number 2, position over submission. So if you get a good position and you hurry too fast to get the submission, then you're going to lose the position and you're going to be back in the scramble. So for me in life, that meant if I now, at this point, if I try too hard and too fast and take too much risks, I'm going to stay in the hole and not get back out. So the way that got me back out by saying, I want to do this, I want to do that, or I want to do that, but I don't have the money to do it anymore, like I was left with one small school and I wanted to grow. So what I did was I opened up satellites. Satellites were rooms that are rented in fitness clubs and dance schools. And then after a while, I took the first satellite, which had like 85 students, and then 500 meters down the road, I opened up the school. I needed 25 people to break even with the school, but I took 85 there, so there was no risk. And I did that 5 times, so now we have 5 schools, and I'm just in the process of signing a contract for a 6th one, where again, we take 75 people, we need 30 people to break even. So we did that very risk-free. And for that, nobody in this room has to care, but if maybe one day a student comes to you and say, I would really like to make a living of martial arts, but I don't have any money to open up the school, then maybe that would be the thing, right? Go to a dance school, to a fitness club, to a YMCA, rent the place cheap. Sasha has a place, he rented for $500. Now he has 400 students in a place for which he pays $500. So if you ever want to call something a profit, then that's a profitable deal. In Germany, we have to be better and we have to try harder. After the war, there was a system installed in our country. It's like the registered club system. And it was installed after the war so that every family, disregarding of income and money, had access to sports activities, to soccer, to handball, to karate, to judo, to whatever was there. And let me ask a question. My daughters, of course, they grew up on the mat. And then when they were, I don't know, 6, 7, or 8 years old, one of my daughters came and said, Dad, can we go to can we look at gymnastics? Eileen, her friend, is going to gymnastics, and can we look at it? And she was so smart that she already checked the times because she knew she can't drop out any martial arts lesson. So she said, it's Friday on 6:30. The sports place is around the corner from the school, and competition class was up to 6 o'clock. So she already found out it's 6:30. It was manageable. So I signed them up at gymnastics, and 2 of them. And this gymnastic group became so good that they represented Germany in various world championships. They're going to go to European championships this year in June. So they became a world-class sport gymnastic group, very famous in Germany, won everything there is to win. And now they are world-class people. You can join this club now and train along world-class athletes. You can grow with them, you can be proud with them, you can shine with them one day. So just a question in the round, what do you think the tuition for that is today if you become a member of this elite group? Any idea?
Expensive.
How much what would you think?
I don't know. I know that gymnastics are way more expensive. In my town in Santa Barbara, California, gymnastics were a lot more expensive than my martial arts.
Give me a number.
$1,000 a month, $1,200 a month.
$1,200 a month. Anybody else?
$1,000 a month.
$1,000 a month. Okay. It's $15 a month. It's $15 a month. That's the public club system. $15 a month. The biggest competition on the male kids side is soccer, of course. We Europeans, it's soccer. You call it soccer. We call it football, you call it soccer. Soccer is about between $8 and $10 a month. If you enter a world-class club in the kids thing, it's $8 to $10 a month. That's our competition. Then we're years behind the American tuition. So our group here, like we charge in, let's say, speaking in dollars, we charge between 120 and 180, which